we have members who are hesitant to implement their action items. And, we get them to flesh out the action item in the peer group, where it's like, make it not that it has to be a big, hairy, audacious goal every time, but make it be something of value that's tied to your vision of where you want to be as a company. It's something that keeps you up at night. But man, they like, oh, I don't want to commit to that. Oh, I'm going to make sure that we clean out the warehouse in the back by the next meeting. It's like, that's not quite what we're looking for here, but that'll work. But
right.
Starting an EOS system, it's absolutely daunting and can be overwhelming. But at the same time, oh my gosh, like how many times do you have to hear people say how it's changed and transformed their life and their business? Like, at some point you got to drink the Kool-Aid, right?
Right, sure. Well, if you keep doing things the way that you've always done them, you're probably going to get the same results that you've always had.
Welcome to Peer Talk, a dialogue with business owners just like you. Peer Talk conversations run the gamut of business challenges facing owners today. The host of Peer Talk is Dan Crowley, founder and owner of Peer Executive Groups, which provides a safe space for owners to share their experience, grow their businesses, and learn from their peers.
Hi, this is Dan Crowley. We have a number of great owners in our peer group network, just like you, and our job is to give you a voice here on Peer Talk.
Peer Tech is a proud sponsor of Peer Talk. Are your results actionable? View your industry data like never before. Gain insights, view real-time KPIs, drive growth, unlock potential. When you join PeerTech, your data drives decisions. Peer benchmarking allows you to see your data like never before. Why be satisfied with incomplete data when clear, responsive, real-time trends could be yours? Now is the time to start making insightful, data-driven decisions for your business. PeerTech.
Today is a special podcast here on Peer Talk. We are going to spotlight the different speakers that will be gracing us with their presence at the Meeting of the Minds on November 9th in lovely Scottsdale, Arizona at the Talking Stick Resort. The first up is Jeanguenat from RentalMax. He will be presenting the end speech of the day on the do's and don'ts of EOS implementation. For those of you who don't know, EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System, and that is from the book Traction. Many operators in the rental industry are currently implementing EOS, and we're going to learn about what you should do and should not do while you do that implementation. John is the president of RentalMax. RentalMax was founded in 97 by Terry Hagee. It's based in Chicagoland area. There are currently 10 store locations, 8 in Illinois, 1 in Indiana, 1 in Wisconsin. They have about 125 employees. It's 100% focused on equipment, contractors, and industrial. And John has been in that position since spring of 2018, running the company. He is a Southeast Michigan native, so even though he's in Illinois, he seems to root for Michigan teams. He also went to Purdue University and Indiana University for his MBA. Came to RentalMax in 18, as I stated. He is a member of the peer group Premier and succeeded Terry into that position. He started EOS in the fall of 2018, so almost from the beginning of when he took on his career with RentalMax. So it's about 4 years. He also is involved with ARA leadership and is the ARA equipment SIG chair, as well as he is on the board of directors since 2021. So here, let's hear from John Jeanguenat.
That's my 2 cents. But why don't you go ahead and share with me some of the things you've thought about related to EOS and how you've implemented it at RentalMax.
So when I'm thinking about this topic in the presentation, I'm trying to start with who's going to be in the room listening and what are they looking to get out of this presentation. And so I guess I'm thinking of this or the audience in maybe 2 camps. One would be the company that's already operating on EOS. And my guess is that there aren't too many companies that have been operating on EOS longer than Bottom Line and RentalMax. I think All Star had started it before we did. So you have the business owner or leader that is operating on EOS, but maybe not as long as as we have. Mm-hmm. And then you have the person that is not operating on EOS, but is thinking about should we do this, and if we do this, how do we do this? What can we learn from somebody who's been through it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. So, we've had the benefit of implementing EOS in probably 13 operations now that are rental operations. They elected to not go with an EOS implementer and instead have chosen to use myself or Terry Hagee or Phil Morera or Lance Bull or any of our facilitation teams that have gone in and done the EOS implementation for them. And what we do is we stay, we're able to bridge it to discussions around rental. But yeah, there's going to be a number of people in that room that are just they know everybody else is doing it. They don't know why they're not doing it. They're trying to figure out, how do I take that first step, that kind of thing. And then you have other people who've been doing it for a year and they're really questioning, like, okay, am I doing this right? I think that's you'll see a lot of people in the room that are implementing EOS, and they definitely want to hear your speech about it because of that, or your discussion, because you can freely use the people in the room to have a nice open session if you like. So that's good.
Okay. So then as far as do's and don'ts, my feeling is to some degree less is more. Yep. I mean, I could probably list off 100 do's and 100 don'ts, but I don't know. I don't know how much somebody sitting in the audience takes away. I mean, at some point your head just spins, right?
Yeah.
Well,
good point.
What are the key, do's and don'ts? So I was thinking about trying to limit it to something like 5 do's and 5 don'ts, so I started to make a list of the do's and the don'ts, and maybe you can give me your feedback on whether you think for do's, I have number 1, hire an implementer. If you're truly at least to start, my feeling is the companies that have been successful with it have hired an implementer. And I can go into a little more detail on that. Do I say follow the EOS process? So, I think if you're going to do it, you got to do it. And I think that following the process, the focus day, the vision building, the rollout, so on and so forth, and then committing to the meeting pulse, is so critical. I think, to the success of it.
But then, and I find this when I work with a business, committing to the meeting pulse, sometimes it's like you're surprised as an implementer to see them waver on that meeting pulse thing. I mean, I'm talking like everything from shifting days for when they do it, not committing to 90 minutes, having it fluctuate. What tool do they use? I see people that are still using spreadsheets and they seem to be outdated and not updating. And I mean, so I would love to see you and you do what you want, but I would love for you to emphasize the meeting pulse a little differently than even following the EOS process. It's just to me, it's an extra breakout of that.
Sure. Yeah, okay. I think that's a fair,
awesome
way of saying it. I had be transparent. So in terms of like sharing numbers, tracking the right numbers, that was one that actually, in talking to Renee, he felt was really important. Like if you're not, we share a lot of financial information with our team, because if you want me to go somewhere, but you're not going to tell me where we're going, how am I supposed to figure out how to get there? Financially, I know that Vandalia does a great job of that. I know others do a great job of that. So that was one of the do's, was just to be transparent, share the numbers. I might be able to tie in something about like what you said about the scorecard into that. I have commit to EOS as the long-term operating system for the business. That, and this could also be a don't also. Don't look at EOS as something you're going to do for a year and then all of a sudden, it's not a flash in the pan. This is the fad, this is, whatever flavor of the month type of thing. It takes a long time just to get traction through the EOS process. But once you do, then it ramps up exponentially. So anyway, that could be a do or a don't, but the key is that
great.
Committing to it long term.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even think of that. That's brilliant.
And then I did utilize a software to manage EOS within the business.
Okay.
I know that there are changes going on right now with EOS worldwide and licensing, and I don't know what we're going to do yet. I mean, we've been on Traction Tools since the beginning. Now they're changing it to Bloom Growth. And I don't know, and I know 90.io is going changes.
We went from, we had like 3 or 4 months on my Traction Tools, and then we moved to 90.io, and we've been really happy with 90.io, but just even some of the nomenclature is changing on it. It's like, where is this? What are they calling this now? What's the new name for it? And
I think that those could be helpful for people that are already on EOS and for people that are considering it.
Correct.
Some more than others. So that's what I have for do's. Don'ts. So I have don't announce the vision or EOS to the company before you establish the vision. I think getting through the vision building process and really having that proper core values speech is very important, because otherwise it's something that's half baked and you don't know exactly what direction the vision is going to go, and I think you want it to come across as, hey, we put a ton of thought into this, and this is our vision for the company. There's no gray area here. This is what it is, and this is the direction that we're going. We want you all to be on board, and we need the team to do it. But
now, does that include the values?
Yes.
Okay.
I could share a way. I could share the way that we were able to get input from our team on the core values without letting them know what we were doing.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I could do that.
Yeah, that'd be great, because you may or may not know, there were several implementations of EOS where some of the values were making their way onto posters, and then the owner shifted on some of the values, and so they had to reprint the posters. So that was kind of awkward. You're trying to get your employees to kind of memorize where these were, and had to make the shift. So
right.
And what do you think's the proper time frame for? Is it 90 days? Is it 6 months? What's that look like before you take it to that next step and start to promote it? I mean,
well, I think the core values are primarily initially it's critical that they're internal, and so we did our core values speech within a couple weeks of finishing our vision building. So the vision building, the focus day vision building, that process takes about 90 days. So I think, to me, that's the right time frame assuming that you have everything finalized, but you should be able, if you're working with an implementer, you should be able to, to get that done in 90 days. And then I think you announce it to the team, and then you can start rolling it out.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
And I had a don't try to roll out the meeting pulse, the rocks. I wouldn't try to roll that out to everybody all at once. And I realized not that. So you're introducing the core values. You're introducing EOS being the operating system for the company. You're introducing the vision, but until, as a leadership team, you kind of work through the kinks and the understanding of how those L10 meetings are supposed to run. How are you going to advise? To me, that would be a case where someone tries to do it and roll it out and have 5 L10s and 4 of them say, well, these suck. We're not getting value out of these, just because nobody's really guiding them on how to do it.
Good point. No, that's a good one for sure.
I have, as a don't fall into the pattern of consensus decision making. So the idea is not to try to build consensus with EOS. The idea is to identify issues, make sure that the right people have the opportunity to discuss those issues, and then make a decision and solve those issues and move forward.
No, that's great.
Sometimes the integrator has to be the tiebreaker, but so I had that as a don't. I also had don't be aspirational. So I realize that that's kind of general, but like when you're setting core values, don't say this is who we want to be. I would say, like, this is who we are, this is who we need to be. Like, I looked at core values as defining them for the organization, not inventing them or,
right.
Coming up with, these values that don't really mean anything to the people in the business.
Yeah, one way you can get to the bottom of that pretty easily is we do this thing at the onset where we do employee surveying, and when we do the employee surveying, we ask them, if there was a lateral position available and you're contemplating leaving this company for another company, what would keep you here, and why do you work here? So it kind of got them thinking about, like, well, I have fun here and I don't want to lose that. I don't know what's on the other side of the fence, but I do know here's elements of this company. I trust the owner. We have fun at work. That kind of thing starts coming out. And so we were implementing EOS at a place in California, and we added fun to their values because the owner and leadership team never went down that path. But we interviewed 12 people, and every one of them said, well, it's a fun place to work. This is still the place I would work because the owner's a fun person, and da 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 da. So that was interesting to actually impact their values.
I'm not sure if I mentioned this one, but I think this is important. I think choosing the leadership team wisely, and it's better to start small than to start big. I think Kyle would say this. I think when they first started, they had a pretty big leadership team, and also I think he had someone that wasn't even a store manager as the integrator, and I think we started out thinking, oh, well, we'll have a couple store managers on our leadership team, and we'll have someone from maintenance on our leadership team, and we ended up not doing that. This was just in conversations between Glenn, I knew that Glenn and Brandy were going to be on the leadership team. And so we actually decided to start with just Glenn and Brandy, myself and Lee. And it was the four of us. And, then within probably 6 months, we added Doug. And then a couple of years later, we added Anthony, who's our director of business development. But, we've still kept that. We've been able to elevate people in other parts of the company and, include them in L10s and so on and so forth. But I think keeping the leadership team small and making sure you have the right people on the leadership team is incredibly important.
No, that's awesome. Going on around the country. And, they talk about it in all the peer groups. So it's actually shocking to me that some people have been hesitant. And, in general, we have members who are hesitant to implement their action items. And, we get them to flesh out the action item in the peer group where it's like, make it not that it has to be a big, hairy, audacious goal every time, but make it be something of value that's tied to your vision of where you want to be as a company. It's something that keeps you up at night. But man, they like, oh, I don't want to commit to that. I'm going to make sure that we clean out the warehouse in the back by the next meeting. It's like, that's not quite what we're looking for here, but that'll work. But,
right.
Starting an EOS system, it's absolutely daunting and can be overwhelming. But at the same time, oh my gosh, like how many times do you have to hear people say how it's changed and transformed their life and their business? Like some point you got to drink the Kool-Aid, right?
Right. Sure. Well, if you keep doing things the way that you've always done them, you're probably going to get the same results that you've always had.
Your industry data like never before. Gain insights, view real-time KPIs, drive growth, unlock potential. When you join PeerTech, your data drives decisions. Why be satisfied with incomplete data when clear, responsive, real-time trends could be yours? Now is the time to start making insightful, data-driven decisions for your business. PeerTech.
You've been listening to Peer Talk from Peer Executive Groups, produced and directed by Noah Crowley and hosted by Dan Crowley. Subscribe to this podcast for notifications of future episodes of Peer Talk.